You there?
Still stronger than one. Making plays, open J's, and the open run. If we talking about breaks and shooters filling lanes, all my dogs is down for war. You can tell how they train. Coaches coaching, players play, but they learn from each other. If the roles are reversed, if they's a kid, we assist one another. Making strides for a ship in the regular season, lacing up these nights, a band of brothers turning into some demons. Through the season, spring to fall, we gon' see who is working. When the winter hit the surface, gon' see who deserve it. Left competition in the dust, now the opposite deserted. Only lions in my circle, we hungry for purpose. Nothing's given, all these stripes, you can see that I earned them. Can't buck the system, take the knowledge, and study and learn it. We as strong as the weakest, 1 through 12 is equal. Tried to trap me, saw it now, you know I had to thread the needle. I had to thread the needle, try erase and draw it up, just trying to see my youngins eating. Yeah, I had to thread the needle, try erase and draw it up, just trying to see my youngins eating.
All right, welcome to another episode of the Coaches Show for the coaches by the coaches. We have a special guest in today, Coach Dale Lamberth from Thomas Stone High School. How you doing, Coach?
I'm great. Good morning. How you doing?
I'm doing well. Thanks for coming on, man. I want to first say before we get started, it's an honor to have you on. A lot of my coworkers at Bladensburg live down your way, and that's all they talk about. all they rep is Thomas Stone, Thomas Stone, Thomas Stone. So we want to say thank you for coming on today, man.
I appreciate the invite.
Oh, no question. We have a series of questions for you that the coaches have already drawn up on the chalkboard, and we're ready to jump on. You ready?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
So our first question coming from a good guy, one of the guys that you know and get on all the time, Coach Will Maynard from Southern High School.
Dale, really appreciate it. Speaking on behalf of everybody, all the panelists on the show, we're grateful to have you on the show.
Yeah, I appreciate the invite again.
Yeah. So, it's always good to talk to you. I mean, we talk all the time, and you're one of my coaching mentors. And the thing I like about you is that you always hold me accountable, regardless if it's for something I did or somebody I'm real tight with has said. But I greatly appreciate that because that's the sign of a true friend, of a true mentor. If you don't tell me the truth when I'm doing something wrong, then, that's not going to help me make myself not just a better coach, but a better person. So I really appreciate that.
Yeah, and that goes both ways. I mean, any kind of relationship is two-way. You got to be receptive. And so it's not always easy when you're talking to someone or you giving suggestions that they may not want to hear. It goes both ways. So, no, that's the same here. Appreciate it.
So my question to you is, let everybody know, can you let everybody know who Dale Lamberth is?
Yeah, that's a tough question. Well, growing up, I'm going to start with there briefly. Wasn't the best guy on my high school team. Matter of fact, I got cut my 9th grade year and got brought back on. 10th grade year, played JV. And right around that same time, my head coach got sick. And so we got an interim coach in there. And he kind of showed a lot of interest in my growth. And my game sort of took off a little bit in high school. As I went to college, I went to York College, Pennsylvania, played there 4 years, coached there for a year. My 5th year, I stayed there and coached. Got out, moved to Tacoma Park. It was during that time that I had an opportunity to coach at the Tacoma Park Boys and Girls Club. And I had no interest, believe it or not. I had no interest to be a coach ever. That wasn't even on my radar. But the staff from Boys and Girls Club needed someone to do their 9th grade team. So I agreed to do it for that season. And I just got hooked in and started coaching there for about a couple of years. And then I went to Blair. And my first season there, I took the freshman team and then I became JV. I was an assistant coach there for 7 years. And then I got my shot after the coach who was there, I was under, left after 2 years. So I've been coaching. I coached at Blair. I was there for about 13 years. Went to Stone in 2001. Passionate about the game, love my players, always surrounded myself with great coaches, like everywhere, both places actually, Blair and Stone. Great individuals.
So that's fun. It's funny that, you know, I hear a lot of coaches talk about that they couldn't see themselves getting into coaching. You know what I mean? But I'm assuming that, you know, you wanted to get into coaching when you decided that it was something you wanted to pursue, was just something to keep you in the game. Am I correct?
Yeah, it's a combination of both, because it really opens up the door to meet different people. You know, either you playing a game in a men's league, or as you coach, you run across guys like yourself and the panelists, where you know, you stay involved in the coaching aspect of it. So it was a combination of both.
Well, I appreciate your answer on that question, and I'm gonna pass it along to the next coach.
Okay.
What's going on, Coach? How you doing?
Hey, sir. How you doing? Good morning or afternoon.
Yeah. Just want to say it was an honor, you know, coaching against you earlier this year, the Christmas tournament game. You got me, but it was definitely an honor, you know, coaching against you guys. You guys played hard, and, you know, like the way
That was a great game. That was a great game. You coming back this year?
Oh, of course.
All right, great.
So my question to you is, you know, you've been a long time coach. What were some coaches that mentored you, or coaches that you model your coaching style after, you know, while you was coming up as a coach?
Yeah. Well, I took a lot from my high school coach. His name was Al Larimore. They call him Big Al, big dude. He didn't take any mess. He was very hard on us. He didn't like flash at all. He didn't like the finger roll. He said, when you make a layup, I don't want to see the palm of your hand. So we had to turn our thumb in and make the layup. None of that flair. He definitely didn't like that. And but what he taught, what I learned, because again, I wasn't the best player on my high school team, but what I learned from him is discipline and teamwork. Those two things. And so when I did get into coaching, that was my frame of reference. That's what I knew, to be a disciplinarian and also to try to build relationships. He was one. Guys from PG that I got to know pretty well: Artie Walker at Duval, George Wake from Heights, Steve Matthews, Gwynn Park, Lou Howard, that was at Largo, but you know where he is now. But those guys, I learned a lot from them. I would scrimmage them and play them anytime I could and pick their brains about different things. When I scrimmage Steve Matthews, for example, down at Gwynn Park, you know, he'll beat the brakes out of us. He would just run us in the hole and then sit and talk pizza and said, hey, you know, as a new coach, I wanted to find out what did he do to get his players to work that hard. You know, even the kids at Blair worked very hard, but now it was my time. I wanted to try to figure out what did he do. Same with Lou Howard when he was at Oxon Hill, run us in the ground. So off the top, those guys, I would say when I was first into coaching, that taught me a lot about building a program, some of the do's and don'ts of making sure that, you know, you got your I's dotted and your T's crossed. So I would say off the top, those guys right there really jump-started my career.
Thank you. Definitely appreciate that. I think that's the platform that you know, us coaches, that we're trying to model that, you know, identity now. Like we're communicating with each other, we're picking each other's brain, and we're all trying to get better. But you know, if we play against each other, you know, we're going to fight, we're going to battle. But I think we're trying to build that relationship with all coaches and trying to just, you know, emulate different things and, you know, learn different strategies from different coaches. So that's something that we're definitely taking on right now. So definitely appreciate it.
Oh yeah. Yeah, that's a you know, Will and I and Tobias, we talk about how important relationships are because really nothing is original. I mean, everything we've done, we've probably gotten from someone else. And so that's why it's important. Even though I might play Will in the playoff, I might ask Will, hey, what do you think about this play? How would you defend this play? I'm thinking about running this. I have no problem with asking Will that, you know.
Definitely.
Because I know he'll give me a true answer, and then I'm not that insecure where I'm saying, well, I ain't gonna say that because he might steal a play or he'll defend it. Well, he's gonna defend it anyway if he's a quality coach, you know. So that's why, yeah, it's very important about relationship.
Definitely appreciate that. I think Will just said that before offline, saying nothing is original, and you know, so you repeating the same words he just said. So you can definitely attest to that. So I appreciate that answer.
Yes, sir.
And I'm a pass it to Coach O from Bladensburg High School.
Yes, sir.
All right, Coach. Yeah, man, it's absolutely correct, man. And those names you was naming, I mean, I graduated in '97 from Bladensburg High School, so I definitely, every chance I get to see Coach Walker and Coach Wade and Irv Hay, all those guys, man, I haven't seen Steve Matthews since they used to run us in the ground when I was in high school, but both he's doing well as well. It's definitely good to hear those names, man. And when we talk about legends, you're definitely in that same group, man, and we will appreciate you again.
Well, I work with Steve. So
you did?
Yes, I do. He's at Stone. And I talk to him all the time. Matter of fact, I'll have him come into practice and ask him what he thinks still. This is 2020, and I'm still pricking his brain. Like, I just won't let him go home. I'm like, hey, before you get in your car, man, can you stop in my practice? I just think it's important for that. You know, it doesn't matter how long you've been coaching. Duration has nothing to do with it. It's just trying to get better and get your kids better.
Yeah, and that's exactly what John said, man. We do a lot of time. For us, this is a daily thing for us, offline text messaging, videos, and stuff like that. We always picking each other brain, and we also picking other coaches outside of what we texting and bringing the information back, because I think, and it's going to segue into my question, the more we do our homework, the better our conferences is going to be, the better our game is going to be, the better our players going to be, the better the coaching going to be. You know what I mean? So that's what it's all about. So my question to you, as far as the SMAC conference, is it overlooked in your opinion?
As I was saying earlier before the show started, I think we need to do more as a conference as a whole to kind of get out, because you have logistical problems too. So you have teams down in St. Mary's County, for example. Let's go deep in Patuxent. They may not be able to travel a lot, so their games might be a little limited. But at the same time, I would challenge them to find ways to play your team, even if it's one team a year outside of their conference, and to try to make sure that they're not only the conference name, but their school is well represented around the state. I think we could do more, but I'm real satisfied that we've kind of positioned ourselves where if I call you and say, hey, you got an opening, that you feel comfortable playing Stone, because you know we'll give you a quality game. When I talk about wins and losses, you know that, okay, it's going to be time to strap up because we're going to represent. And I think all the coaches in the SMAC really feel like that, where when it comes time to play a team outside of our county or outside of our league, that we're going to have to come and represent. So I'm kind of ambivalent a little bit. I think we can do more, but I think that some of the teams in the conference been representing the past few years.
I agree with that too as well, because like when I was in high school, you know, we were 3A. So us being 3A, it wasn't nothing for us to play a Lackey, for us to play Stone, Southern. That was a normal thing for us. I know, like, the biggest thing for us was like our rivalry was Wynn Park, you know, And
Right.
we had to beat Douglas because Chris Hawkins was my head coach and Earl Hawkins was the head coach at Douglas at that time. You know what I
Right.
mean? So we had to beat those things when we went down there. So that was the biggest thing too. Now the other thing too with the SMAC, because we talked to a lot of coaches, what is one of the biggest misconceptions of the SMAC? What do people miss? What's the misleading thing that people always think about the SMAC?
No talent. No talent. And I didn't grow up in Southern Maryland. I grew up in Annapolis. And so when I got the job down there, that was one of the things that the outgoing coach, Coach Datcher, had talked to me about. That's always been his biggest concern, that people look at the SMAC and said, they don't have any talent down there. And I think I was always driven to prove that wrong, personally. That, I was hired at Stone. And so that whatever the misconception was, we were going to fight as a school to kind of change that. And I think that was one of the things, no talent. But I tell you, I saw some really, really great basketball players down in Southern Maryland, for sure.
And it's some talent. I mean, like I say, up until I think maybe last year, we used to always scrimmage at Lackey, La Plata, and schools like that.
Correct.
That ride was kind of far for a weekday, but on the weekends, on the Saturdays,
Right.
that's definitely one of the things on my list, to go down there and scrimmage those teams, because you want to see different style of basketball, and I think what the SMAC is very similar to Prince George's County. We just have a lot more schools, I'm assuming, and stuff like that. So the talent is like spread it out, like that. So I definitely appreciate that insight. So I'm gonna turn you over and pass the ball, throw the ball behind my head, and I didn't put my thumb down, so I'm gonna get in trouble by Coach. I'm gonna pass it over to Coach Tobias Jennifer.
Yes, sir.
What's going on, Coach?
Hey, sir, how you doing, man?
Not too bad, man. I tell you what, having a fellow SMAC coach on here, it's a pleasure. I definitely can say that it's been an honor being able to know you and obviously coach against you. You just like you say with Will, you get on Will a lot, and you get on me as well about certain things, this, that, and the other when we get together and we talk. But it's all in good spirit, and I truly appreciate it. Like Will said, you've definitely been one of my mentors from afar. I've never really said that to you, but I don't feel like I have to. Just to think the way you carry yourself. I've definitely tried to emulate, with my program and the way that I carry myself. So I just want to say thank you for that.
Yeah, and you beat me this year. You can tell him that. You got me.
Yeah, I wasn't going to that. I wasn't going to.
Well, you was thinking it. I know you was thinking it, but it's appropriate. That's fine.
See, I wasn't going to say anything. I try to be humble. I'm trying to be humble right now.
No, you good. You good. You good.
Hey, Coach, I'll tell you this though. I will say this. I played against you in high school. When I was at town, and for those 4 years while I was at Huntingtown, we never beat Thomas Stone. We played y'all. I think sometimes we played y'all once a year, maybe twice a year. I can't remember.
Yep, home and away. Home and away.
Yep, and we never beat y'all, not once. And so I was what's that, 0-8 against you. And then my first couple years, my first official year as a head coach, I lost to you, and I was like, my goodness. The first couple years actually, and then finally last year I got over that hump, and you were very, very appreciative and humble, and I couldn't ask for anything more. You didn't bust my chops or anything, and you kind of just put a. So I will say, I didn't want to speak on it, obviously, but it obviously felt good, but.
Of course. And it's funny you should say that, because prior to that, your former coach, I had told him it's going to happen. I mean, everything goes in cycles.
Yeah.
And so you're not going to be 0-8 for long. It's just a matter of time. So you got to handle losing just like you handle winning. I mean, you lose, you got to suck it up a little bit, figure out what happened, and get back in the saddle. So no, I didn't feel any kind of way when I lost to Huntingtown at all. Matter of fact, when you were playing, your coach and I were tight. His family and I were tight, and you guys really treated me like I was one of the assistant coaches. Every time I saw you guys, it was always love coming from the players.
Yeah.
I respected that in Huntingtown, that Huntingtown team. Though it was almost like, you know, they were my players basically. You know what I mean? And I just thought you guys were very respectful, cordial, polite, competitive, the whole nine, during that stretch. And so, yeah, losing to Huntingtown, no one likes losing, but it's just a matter of time, Now, don't get comfortable.
I knew that was coming.
Yeah, don't get comfortable.
Just like you said, it was coming.
Yeah, I know. No, it's all good. It's all good.
I appreciate the competition, man, and the kind words you said about my team and the coaches. You making me blush a little bit, man.
No, you guys were good. You guys were good.
So let's get right into it. I have my question here. Obviously, last year, not this year, but last year, you guys had a very exciting game against Great Men SMAC Championship. And, during that time, you eclipsed the 400 career win mark. And it was an amazing game, jam-packed, a lot of emotion going into the game on, both sides and for everything going on. So my question is, what does reaching that milestone mean to you and your program?
Like I said, Dan, you don't get into coaching to achieve that. At least I didn't. That's not something that I looked at and said, oh, I want to coach all these years and do this. That really wasn't my intent. It happened. It's almost like you're not paying attention to it until it does happen.
Yeah.
But I could also say that I did all that on the shoulders of some good coaching over those years when I was at Montgomery Blair, and I told you about the gentleman that mentored me and gave me a lot of insight as to how to handle myself, bench decorum. I could brag and say that I probably only got one technical in my whole coaching career. Like, I just don't get technicals.
Yeah.
My coaches don't get technicals. At least they try not to anyway. But that was great. I enjoyed it. It just so happened to be on the SMAC championship night, which made it even more special. And seeing some of the, I didn't realize the number of alumni that I coached from Blair and Stone that was in that gym.
Yeah.
And it was special. It was a special night, special thing. And you really don't, I didn't really enjoy it until I went home and kind of settled in a little bit and just, just gave thanks that I was able to achieve that.
Yeah, man, I tell you what, that the longevity and I will say this, when you're talking about bench, the way that the bench handles themselves, I've watched you while in the stands, coaching against you, playing against you, and your demeanor never changes. And the coaches, you could be up 20, you could be down 20, you're carrying yourself the same way. Your players are still playing hard. And I tell you what, man, that was one of the best games that the SMAC has seen in some time. You against Great Mills that year, that was a very competitive game. And like I said, to get 400 wins, not too many coaches, public school level, can say that they have eclipsed that mark. And, that puts you in a whole nother category of coaches. And, I like it, like you said, you weren't looking to start coaching. You're not doing it for wins, but man, that is a huge milestone and something that can't be overlooked. So, I want to continue to mold my game and my team after the Thomas Stone template because, this is my 4th year. I think I've only had 1 technical. So
don't get any more then.
yeah,
That's it. That's it. What game was that?
Oh man, it was a couple years ago against Lackey, and we were on the road at Lackey. And I didn't say anything. I didn't even do anything to the ref or anything of that nature. I had a clipboard in my hand, and we turned it over. And I was walking down the sideline, and I threw it. And they gave me a tech, and I couldn't believe it. We were down. And actually, once I sat down and got that tech, it kind of ignited the team because we were down 10 or 12 and late in the third quarter going into the fourth. And we made a run that was unbelievable and actually ended up Kedrick Frank ended up hitting the game-winning steal and layup at the buzzer to win the game. And it was an amazing game. And I had to sit down the whole fourth quarter. No, that was terrible. But, I got to go along with if I get another tech. And I think I can do it.
Yeah, because you can't really afford it. It doesn't always work like that with a NYCHA team. Those shots could kill you. That free throw can kill you, and that possession can kill you too.
Absolutely. So, thank you, Coach. Appreciate your answer. I'm gonna pass it to Coach Wade at Blake High School.
Yep. Thanks.
Hey, Coach. How you doing, man?
Hey, sir. How you doing? Good afternoon.
Man, it's so good for you to give me just a little bit of history. I mean, I'm new to Montgomery County, so to hear that you used to coach at Blair, and I played for Lewis Howard when I was at Largo. So to hear that you,
okay,
that's kind of your guy. I mean, it tells how this basketball thing goes full circle.
Yeah, and I remember when Blake opened up and Pegram got the job, Damien, who's now at Blair, So yeah, that's a good school, good location. It's out there, but good location. And congrats. I've never met you. If I did, it was probably along the way somewhere, amongst people. But so yeah, it's great meeting you. And that hopefully you and I can collaborate on some things, scrimmages and games. I still play Blair till this day. I still play them. I play Annapolis. So I just try to, guys that I know and just try to get them on the schedule, start a little competition.
Yeah, for sure, man. We definitely got to do something. So my question to you would be, what advice would you give young coaches coming into the game?
Man, it's a lot of that. That's a great question. I know your show doesn't have time for me to ramble. So
no, we got time. We got time for you.
I think one thing is kind of figure out why you're doing it. As I told you, I didn't really want to get into coaching. I wanted to play basketball. I just wanted to go to rec center, leagues, and all that kind of stuff. My first challenge was a 9th grader who had some home issues. And my background is sociology, psychology. So I just used my background to kind of deal with him as a person and kind of figured out that, hey, if you deal with these athletes as an individual first, you kind of can have some kind of impact. Not to say you're going to change them. So I would say look at the athlete as an individual first. Try to find out as much as you can, because you could have the greatest X and the O's, but if they come to practice and we don't know what happened to them the night before, we're not going to get the complete athlete. So my first thing I would say, get to know your players and know why you're coaching. Figure out really why you're coaching. If you're coaching to win, you probably won't. That's my theory. Because you're really gonna put some other things aside just to win. And you might win games that way, but you won't last because you're gonna start compromising. You know what I mean? You're gonna start, okay, well, I have the best player in the state. Let me put it all on his back. Well, what about your other players? How's your best player making them better? And can you find a way to compromise a little bit and say, hey, to your best player, I'm going to let you get your 20, but I need you to help your teammates get better. And that's always difficult too, because you're trying to win, you got your best player, you're going to ride him all out. Well, he's going to graduate. What's your identity of your program? What are you about? You know, there was a coach in our conference. He's not coaching anymore, but he and I talked at length about a couple of things that was happening at his practice. And so I asked him, I said, well, what are you doing in your practices? So he told me. And I asked him this question. I think I shared Will this story. I asked him, when you prepare for Thomas Stone, what are some of the things you practice to get ready to play us? And so he told me. And I said, okay, so ask me the same question. When it comes time for me to play you, what do I prepare for? And my answer to him was kind of caught him off guard. I told him nothing. I said, I worry about what I'm doing because you're not giving me too much of anything. You got to figure out who you are, what kind of program you have, and how you want to present your program. You know, find something that if you run a mean 1-3-1, stick with that. So when it's time for me to play you, I know come hook or crook, you're going to play that 1-3-1. Now I got to get in my practices and kind of figure out a way to kind of counter what you do. And so I would say develop a sense of identity. So you as a coach can share that with your kids. This is who we are. And come hook or crook, every year we'll tweak it, but this is who we are. Like I was telling you about Steve and your former coach. Ran me in the ground. Come hook or crook, that's what they were going to do. You know that because you played under that system. You know,
for sure.
And it didn't bother you that other teams knew you were going to do it. You just believed in what your coach told you and said, this is who we are. And so I would say that identity. Find out who you are and then stick with it. You know, and if it works for you, don't deviate. Whether you lose a game in it or not, tweak it, get better. I mean, there's like to me, a laundry list of stuff that was passed down to me. But I think off the top of my head, those would be the main ones. And of course, you know, discipline, trust, communication is the parent piece. I'll probably jinx myself by telling you this, but I've had great parents. I've had some difficult ones, but I can honestly say that I've had some great parents. And I think part of the strategy was to talk to them up front about what they're about to get into and to do their homework. You know, before you come to Stone, it's pretty easy to find out who I am and find out what kind of program we run. And you decide whether or not this is a place that you want to be. But I think communicating to your parents early on as a young coach is crucial. To not take anything for granted that, oh, they know. No, they don't. You know, starting with your summer program. So when we played up at Largo all those summers, we were 0-10. We never won a game up there. And so it was hard to explain to the parents because they wanted their little Johnny to win these games and feel good going home. Well, you're not feeling good when you get beat by 20 every Sunday. You go up there to play. So we just had to explain to them what our blueprint was, that we want to win it, but we're up here to try to test each other to see how good your son is and how durable your son is. Is he strong enough to lose week in and week out and still come back and compete? And so that was the biggest thing we talked to our parents about.
Coach, man, you don't even know how many gems you just dropped within that question, man. I'm currently reading a book that's it's actually called Start With Your Why, Start With Why. And it talks about what you were talking about, just and being transparent with your why. People got to know why you're doing what you're doing, and they're more they're more likely to follow. And then another thing that stood out that was huge was, establishing your identity. I remember one reporter was asking Jim Boeheim, why didn't you get out of the 2-3? He said, you don't ask Coach K why he don't stop running man. Why you ask? So,
exactly.
Man, listen, we're super blessed to have you on the show, and man, you giving your insight, man. I can't wait to talk to you more. I'm gonna pass this thing over to Coach Willis.
Yeah, man, I appreciate it. I appreciate it. We'll talk for sure. For sure. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think Terrell might be experiencing a little bit of difficulties. Just to get onto that real quick to add on, and what you said, Coach, was like you don't change what you do, and for you to say you as a coach, what do you do to prepare for me? And you said nothing. That's exactly how I feel sometimes, because I already know what the team's going to do. There's nothing in it. We got to be ourselves, you know. And I think and I know our kids at Bladensburg, that's one thing that we know we're going to come in. We're going to come in and be ourselves. You know, we every year it changes from year to year as far as your personnel, but
absolutely,
you know who your identity is. You know what I mean? So that's very important, man. And being a young coach and having so many coaches that helped me along the way. When I first started coaching, my first JV year as a head coach, my assistant coach was Irv Hay.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I work with his wife.
And that's when not my first year, but when I coached with Coach Butler before he passed. He was at Bladensburg High School, and Coach Irv Hay was there, myself, and we all coached together. And to have Coach Irv Hay on there, man, it was awesome, man. It was awesome because he gave me insight. Some of the things that you just don't pay attention to, like a team pressing us. And he said, Coach, put the big boy in the middle and we're going to break it. What are you doing all this X in the nose and drawing all this stuff up? I said, you know what? I forgot about that. Yeah, put the big boy, and it worked. He said, Coach, it's simple. It don't change. You know what I mean? Yeah. It's all the same. You know what I mean? It don't change, man. So your insight
it's a tweak here and there, but for the most part, when we played North Point, you remember when North Point was pressing everybody, just dogging from line to line. One of my assistant coaches said, why don't we put our smaller guard at half court? Genius. Because he was breaking the press against a forward, not those guards down there, guard on guard, and being a small guard himself. You know, so we started doing that. And that kind of countered what they were doing. So, yeah, it's pretty simple. And sometimes if you think too hard on it, you're going to miss the whole thing. So, and that's overcoaching. We've all done it. We just try to be geniuses. You know, we're going to, hey, I'm going to do this. I'm going to run this offense, and we're going to run to Princeton because that's all that movement. We're going to run Princeton. Uh-huh. And no, you're not going to run Princeton because the IQ is different. Mm-hmm. You know, totally different.
You're right. So I'm going to pass you over to Will Myrna. He got a question for you as well.
Yep.
So there, you already touched upon you know, you coaching at Blair and stuff like that. But what a lot of people don't realize is that, you know, you coach Steve Francis. You know, I never forget to that. I never forget to this day. I was watching, I don't know if it was a Sports Century or it was something they did on Steve Francis, and they interviewed you.
That was Beyond the Glory. Beyond the Glory.
Yeah. I said, what in the world? And I had never, you know, knew that and stuff like that. So we really do have a celebrity on here.
That's funny.
Yeah, go ahead.
I said, I saw it. I said, man, what in the world?
No, that was a special time, and we had other guys. David Vanderpool, who's assistant coach at Minnesota right now, he's a Blair graduate. Jason Mascari, who went to Charlotte, played overseas. He
like that.
Yes. Oh my God. He was special.
Yes, he was. I found that out the hard way.
Oh yeah, you had to guard him. Well, you were there watching him. You didn't guard him. You watched him.
Man, he could play. He was so strong, man.
Yeah. And I mean that's part of my history that I'm grateful for. And we, like you guys were talking about mentoring, we had a handful of guys before they even came to high school we had a mentoring program at Blair. Steve, Jason, Fritz Plater, Anwar, there's a lot of guys that we mentored in the 8th grade to try to get them prepared for 9th grade. So we knew all of those guys before they even came to high school.
So, but a quick question, just to fall back, did you guys have to compete with private schools back then?
Yeah, Tacoma Academy at that time was pretty huge. You had, I want to say Spalding, but not so much. You know, I mean, it happened, but pretty much kids stayed where they grew up for the most part.
Yeah.
You know?
What made me ask you that, because you said you guys were doing a mentoring in the 8th grade. I saw you guys, I mean, obviously you wanted to establish a relationship with those middle school kids before they came up to the high school. And I was wondering, one of the reasons why you did that was to make sure that they didn't leave your school.
I don't think consciously or conversationally, I know we didn't. We wanted to make sure that they had a great jump start in the high school. That was the premise of the mentoring program, is to get them ready to come to high school.
Yeah.
And if you saw Steve's story, you saw that he wasn't the one that kind of drank the Kool-Aid, so to speak, that he was a lone ranger. He just did his thing. Yeah, love him to death too, but.
Well, I appreciate your insight on that question, and I'm going to pass it along to Coach Wade.
Yep.
Coach, so just kind of talking about some good moments in your life. We know you got the 400 career wins, but outside of that, what's some moments that stuck with you, or like the biggest moments for you?
I think the biggest thing was in 2008, going to the state championship game. I think that was huge for the school because it was 20-some years before Stone ever went back to the States. I think the last time that they were prior to that was 1988 was the last time that Stone played up at the state games. So that was pretty huge. And I was really excited to be a part of that school's history. I think that probably of all the times, I think that first time was great.
That first time going there, I haven't been yet, but hopefully step in there one day.
It goes in cycle. You will. Stay in there long enough, you will, for sure.
So would you say that's the team that you connected with the most, like even till today?
Now that question could get me in trouble. Because I love all my players. When we talk about that year, what I tell them is that that 08 team kind of opened up the door for everybody else to kind of enjoy some of the fruits. But just for me personally, I was really proud to be a coach at Thomas Stone that year.
Man, I appreciate you. I wasn't putting you on the hot seat. I just, trying to take all this in.
Oh, I know, but that could get you in trouble. We talk about that all the time of, just like being parents, you got kids. Who's your favorite kid? Well, all of you are favorite, You have to answer it like that, no matter where you go.
For sure.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna go ahead and pass you to Coach Tobias.
Yeah.
What's going on, Coach? Hey,
hey.
That year in 2008, was that the year? Who'd you guys play that year? Was that Springbrook?
That was a infamous Springbrook game. Yeah.
Man, funny story about that. I got to college. I went to Frostburg. I got to college, and one of my roommates, his name was Kwambina Coker. And, we talked a lot of trash. He's very competitive. He was playing basketball. He had transferred in. And, one day I went in his room and he had these state championship rings. He had 3 of them. And I was like, man, you was blessed to be on 3 straight state championship teams. And he was like, yeah, man. And, we started talking about the games. And he said, yeah, man, one year we beat Thomas Stone. So I thought to myself, Thomas Stone, that's in my conference. And he goes and tells me, I guess you guys were you were up big at half.
12.
Yeah, up 12 at half. And I do remember that team. I think it was Kendall Smith, Stephen Battle, Rodney Clark, maybe.
Yep.
That was
Brandon Carroll, who went to Frostburg.
I saw him in art class. And I remember when that happened at Frostburg, and that was a tragedy.
And you know, that's funny. The previous question asked what was memorable. On the other side of the joy was that pain, is losing him up there at Frostburg. That was that kind of shook us for a long time. It really did.
Yeah, that did hurt. And I'm not trying to, speak on the negative and and bring back any type of memories, but I remember playing you guys that year at Huntington. It was like the last game of the year, and you guys, y'all blew us out. And Brandon was on that team, and then I went up to Frostburg my freshman year, and he was a sophomore. I want to say, and we connected. He sat directly right beside me in art class, and obviously as things we know transpired and happened.
Yeah.
I really couldn't sit back in that class again. I couldn't even really go back to that class. I felt so many different things. I had made a connection with him, and I spoke with the art teacher, and he said, I had to drop the class actually, because it had messed me up so much. And actually, our campus was shook after that. But yeah, man, that was a heck of a team. I still talk to Beans to this day about that game. And we talk trash and things of that nature, because they had a really good team too. They had some guys.
No, they were great.
Yeah,
they were great.
Yeah,
and I say this when I talk about that game. I made so many mistakes that night. As a I would say first year coach, I was under the lights. I was sitting on that big court. The gym, the whole tournament, a storied history of playing up there at the state games. And if you're not ready as a coach and you practice hard, and I thought we came in with a great game plan. That's why we went up 12. But the play that really broke that loose, just time traveling a little bit, the play that broke that loose was Jamal Alasaware.
Yes, he's a monster.
He stepped in, stole a pass, went down and dunked the ball. That opened up the floodgates for Springbrook.
Yeah.
That turnover right there kind of hurt. And like I said, I made some mistakes that game. I should have called a timeout. I didn't. I wanted the team to try to work through stuff like we did during the season. I mean, we faced some adversity during the season. And I just trusted those guys to kind of shake it off, and we didn't. And that was one of the biggest mistakes that I made, just not stopping the bleeding.
Oh yeah, and actually, that Jamal, he's a professional basketball player, so he turned into having a really good career, and I'm still friends with him. So I spoke to him at Kwambina's graduation. He graduated from Catholic and law school.
Mm-hmm.
That game as well. I brought it back, and he talked about the memories, and they have nothing but respect for Thomas Stone. And I'm gonna get to my question in just a second. But we started the whole conversation of legends and this team getting left out, or these players being left out. So I was in a group chat with my guys from Frostburg, and that was a question. They said, man, how come everybody keep talking about PG basketball legends and Baltimore legends, and nobody keeps talking about Montgomery County? So I told them, hey, I didn't want to get into it. But one of the things that a couple of the guys that went to Springbrook spoke about, and they said, we got a lot of respect for a lot of the teams, and we definitely got a lot of respect for Thomas Stone. That was exact words that they said in the group chat. So you're highly respected. So that's going to kind of get me into my next question. So like I was saying, you're highly respected throughout the state and within our conference. You're a mentor to many. So your opinion certainly matters when it comes to certain things. You may not think so, but it definitely does. Where did you see the current state of basketball in the SMAC and state prior to the pandemic, and where do you see it going forward or moving forward?
I'm going to answer the last question first. I don't know, because we've never been in this situation before. I mean, there's so many moving parts in this thing. It's kind of difficult to say, how do we proceed, because not only we're talking about athletics, we're talking about academics.
Yeah.
The most important thing, we're talking about academics. So it's very difficult, and that's a moving part. Then you had the spring sports that did not get a chance to even breathe. I mean, they were cut out. We didn't finish our state run. At least the fall was able to have their championship thing leading into the new year. So honestly, I really don't know where it's going to go. The only thing we can do is look to the leadership of the state, make recommendations to them and what we think, and to ask for certain things to try to catch us up to speed with the things that we lost. Summer league, AAU season, who knows what fall league's going to be. So I really don't know. I mean, it's just a guessing game right now. As far as where it was before, you had some good teams. You look around the playoffs when this thing ended, you had some really, really good teams. The Douglas Stone game was a great game. So you had some good teams out there. Your team, Honeytown, was up there in the conversation. You had St. Charles in the conversation. And we're just talking about the Southern Maryland teams. And it's obvious when you look in Prince George's, the teams that were running ahead in Prince George's. So I thought good basketball was being played. And obviously you had some good matchups that was about to occur around the state prior to this thing. So
we have those conversations.
Yeah, so I thought things were looking good. When you talk about the new format, I don't know if you're referencing the new format. I know that there's some questions about whether that was effective. I have my opinion about that. I thought the format really opened it up for some other teams to kind of slide in there. Do you get a trophy in that quarterfinal? No. But if you win, you get to move on to the semis.
Yeah.
So I like the format.
It was different. It was definitely different.
Yeah.
We've had some coaches on this panel feel certain ways about it, especially about the travel and and you're playing teams that's not really in your region. It's
yes.
dynamic. For others, the reason behind a lot of this, and you're on the state committee, and you're on
Yeah, I'm sorry. Go ahead. Say it again.
I said. So you have a really good insight about a lot of this because you're one on the coaches association board and you're on the state committee. So you've seen this probably coming from a couple miles away, and got a good jump on it and got a really good understanding of it. So I don't know if you have any insight as to why we needed to do this. So this is
you're talking about the quarterfinal, adding the quarterfinal?
Yeah.
Yeah, well, one of the drawbacks I always said, I wasn't always a supporter of it, is the travel. So when you look around, if things fell, I could have traveled from Charles County over to Y-High to play Butch.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And so, but again, it's also give and take, because had that format not been in play, I would be playing Douglas for a regional championship. Now, little did we know we'd have to flip a coin and play each other anyway.
Yeah.
But I just thought that it really allowed another team to get an opportunity to make it to the States.
Yeah,
You
so
know,
the state's looking out for the little ones, the little schools and things of that nature, and I can understand that. So
and they should take a look. You know, I'm quite sure they'll take a look at it, being that this is first year, to see the pros and cons of it.
absolutely,
And I think that'd be smart on their part to do that.
yeah, and they got a lot of time on their hands right now to kind of get it right. Really, they make decisions based off certain sports, as we all know. So that's what makes it tough. So anyway, man, I appreciate it. Your insight has been unbelievable. I have my legal pad right here, with my notes and stuff down as we're going, and so don't be surprised if I steal some things that you were talking about, and
It's not stealing. This is a conversation that all of us are having about the game of basketball. You know what I mean? And if you have something to share and you don't share it, you're doing the coaching ranks a disservice to keep it to yourself. Because nothing's original. I mean, my words are original, but the thinking, all of us thinking the same. We want to be good coaches. We want to do right by our athletes. And one way of doing it is to talk to other coaches.
That's right.
Sure.
Well, Coach, I'm gonna go ahead and throw this lob back over to Coach O. But it's been a pleasure. I'm sure we'll talk again soon, and hopefully we get a chance to get this upcoming season played, because we got a nice little matchup back over in Charles County coming up between us. I make air, because I'm not prepared for nothing. I got to prepare, baby. So,
well, I might even talk to your AD, man. See if we can just eliminate that game.
Man, look. Man, look. It's up. I'm gonna let you make the call.
Yeah, I'm gonna do that. Matter of fact, I'm gonna go up to Blake. I'm gonna start a good relationship with my brother up at Blake, man.
Hey, you welcome anytime, man.
Yeah.
Yeah. Hey, look. You would. I would love to play the game, like I said, but hey, you the big dog, so I'm gonna let you do your thing.
No, I'm part of the fellas, man. I'm just trying to do what's best and enjoy the game for sure.
Yeah. Hey, Dale. Can you tell the panel? I know. Can you please tell the panel about your game that you just told me about when y'all your first time you almost went to States? You gotta let the audience hear about that.
Which game is that?
The one when it was at the end of the game, y'all was almost there. I think y'all played Springbrook, you said.
Yeah, that was 2008, the first one.
No, when you was at Blair.
Oh.
Your first time going to Brown.
Oh, my God.
You gotta tell the people.
Well, yeah, this is my second year as the official head, but first year officially as the head coach, played Springbrook. And that's packed house, man, just crazy. And we were up 5 with 30-some seconds left to go. We had the ball sideline out of bounds, and we ran a play where Fritz Plater, I don't know if you guys ever heard that name, but he was really one of the best players coming out of Montgomery County. Anyway, Fritz had the greatest hands, and we decided we're going to go high-low, just throw the ball into Fritz, and if Springbrook doubled, he could pass to somebody, dive into the basket. Well, I had a player who always thought that he was great, and we tried to convince him to stay in his lane, like, hey, you're good, but we need you to do X, Y, and Z. And his job was just to get the inbound pass, throw the ball down to Fritz, and let's run some clock. He gets cute, gets the ball plucked. Springbrook going the other way, kid named Shaq. He grabs Shaq, intentional foul, 2 shots plus the ball out of bounds. So in 35 seconds, we wind up being up 5 and losing by 2 or 3 off that one sideline out of bound play. Crazy. And that was the regional championship game to go to Comcast.
What time did you get to bed that night?
I didn't sleep. Killed me. Oh my God. Worst feeling in the world. That was, but a learning experience. So out of that, I always decided that if I had a player that he thought he was bigger than the program, he wasn't going to play. That I wasn't going to have him on my team. That hurt us because we were dealing with that all year, and we should have known that was going to come back and bite us, which it did.
Wow.
Yeah.
It goes back to this. It goes back to the saying: you either win or you learn.
Correct. Yeah. So thanks for bringing up that pain, Will. I appreciate that.
Nah, it wasn't that. I just wanted the audience to hear because it was. I mean, we talked about it.
Yeah.
I like talk when I talk to you guys. It's been coaching way longer than all of us have on this panel. We like hearing about those stories, man. Because there's one thing about everybody in here, and I always say I'm blessed that John and O allowed me to be a part of it. Was that we get to learn so much from so many people just by holding a simple conversation and asking a few questions. So, anytime we can learn from the OG like you, man, we love that.
No, and it's those kind of experiences kind of prove that everything isn't peaches and cream when it comes to coaching. That we make mistakes and things happen during the game. I had no idea in 35 seconds my life was going to the state championship game or going home on the bus ride.
Wow, Coach. Well,
yeah, that's a good story, man. I mean, in my short period of time, I had some clock issues and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Saw some things that go in our favor, but all is well because when you figure out why you're doing it and you understand there's a greater good behind it, and everything is done for a reason, you start to understand it a little bit. And like what you said, to piggyback what you said about the state, going to the States for the first time, mine was in 2018, and going in, I just kept telling myself, don't overthink. We get out of the first game, play well, same thing, don't overthink. And I told myself after that game, losing the prayer, there was a couple of things that I wanted to make sure that I got done, and I wasn't able to do it. Hold on, I got my, come here. You won't make all this noise. You're going to be on TV. So making sure I didn't want to overthink it, so I did. I should have called a timeout. Going back at I never even said it before. I don't even know if I told John this before. And I should have got a timeout to get our guys refocused again because we lost focus about 6 or 7 minutes. And I wanted it because all season we allowed ourselves to get through the adversity. You know what I mean?
Yep,
and I wanted the same thing. And we did not get over that 6 or 7 minute hump where the kids scored maybe like 14, 15 points straight. And they never looked back since then. So thank you for that insight.
Yeah, I remember that game. I was there. I remember that.
Yeah, so what we're gonna do, we're gonna speed it up a little bit, and we got this set we call SpongeBob set. So what we do here, Coach, Will sent us some film. Will broke down this set, and Will always talk about we don't call it stealing no more. We call it sponging. So we about to get into this set that Will gave us. And you can tell us more about it once you see it. 1 second. As you can see, I got help this morning. All right, it's coming up. And it may be a little choppy on your end. Just let me know.
Oh, yeah,
it's good. Set that Will sent in with this lob right here.
Oh.
Now, it's two parts to this now, Coach, because you're going to tell me, I want to know what you're see, right now, what I'm looking at Coach Dale Lamberth. He said he only got one tech I think yes.
Yeah. Okay.
Yes. So we can rewind that. You know.
Hey, do you have to show me jumping up and down like that?
I ain't catch that because I watched it again. So on this set, now what we see, we're gonna wind again, and you can break it down for us.
Okay. Yeah. When we put this play in, we put this play in specifically for Jacory. And we ran it a couple times early in the season. If you can run it back for a minute.
Okay.
And then freeze it from the beginning. So right there. So you see the guard in the corner at the lower right screen.
Okay.
When we ran this play before, all he did was stood still. And we played Westlake, regular season Westlake, and we ran this play. And the defender got in our way. So what we did was we went back in practice and said, who's ever in the corner, sprint up like you're going to get the ball and take that man out of there. You see how he run up there?
Yeah.
So his job is just a sprint. The defender's going to follow him. So there's no more help side. And then he sagged off, his man sagged off, but the other guy kind of undercut Jacory.
Yeah, that's really but I understand. And that's my guy at official.
Yeah. And so regardless of the foul, that was a play that we ran earlier. But we tweaked it like we were talking about making adjustments.
Right.
We wanted to take that guard out of the corner, so get his man out of there so Jacory had a little bit more room to work.
Okay.
How was the pass? The pass looked like it was a little short.
No, the pass was great. It was the defender. If you watch, the defender kind of undercut him.
Yeah, I think the pass was good too because you want to kind of like put it right in the front of the rim.
Correct. Yeah. It was an undercut.
Yep, I see it. Yep, you're right.
That really should have been a call.
You just don't want nobody to touch Jacory. Come on, man.
Well, hey, that was third quarter, the beginning of third quarter. And so I didn't want any injuries third quarter, that's for sure. But that was a play that been working for us for a while. And, we just thought that was a good time to call it early in coming out of halftime.
I was going to don't remember that play. That's a nice one.
Yes, it is.
Definitely good insight on that. And that's one of those things like Tobias said, that's going to be stolen. So
yeah, right. Yeah. Hey, but you know what? You got to know your personnel.
That's right.
Yeah, yes you do. And Tutu and Tobias, and he was joking when he said it when he's stealing. We all know if you ain't stealing, you ain't coaching. So
you ain't coaching, exactly. You sitting at home playing PlayStation or something. You gotta, yeah, you for sure. Yeah.
All right, so the next thing before we get out of here, and I know this will be another one of those hard questions. All right. We want to know who will be your best 5 players to come out of the SMAC.
When? This year or ever?
You gotta give them time.
Oh my God.
Everybody do the same thing, and then we realize, okay, just give me the ones that play for you.
I'm not going to touch mine. I'm going to stay away from that for sure. That'll really keep me out of trouble. I'm going to go with Daniel Bell, 2002 graduate. Rob Lowry from McDonough.
What school did Daniel Bell go to?
Stone.
Okay. Yeah, I remember Rob Lowry. I don't know.
Jamaican Rob.
He gave
Bad boy,
us
went to
fits.
Dayton.
Yeah, gave us fits I mean, absolute fits. Marquise Wright, North Point. Say Stephen Battle, Stone.
Oh.
And around the conference. My fifth would be, I'm gonna say Jawan Wells that played at La Plata. He went down to Radford.
Yeah, I definitely know who that is. We had for a while, Radford had a connection with this area for about a 12, 15-year span. Everybody was going to Radford from PG or the SMAC conference.
Oh yeah, well yeah, because Jones's connection to the area.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep, Coach. So man, if you want to ask, this is the floor is as well too. If you want to send a message out or ask a question, anybody on here, you have the floor at this time, man. Anything that you want to share, any advice you want to give out, anything you want what you want to.
No, I appreciate you guys opening up that forum for the coaches. Because like you said, I mean, even given this time, this is great because normally you'd be sitting around chit-chatting somewhere about the very same topics that you're bringing up. And I just think it's a great venue, great opportunity to everybody to share stories, meet each other. I hadn't met Coach Wade. Now I know who he is. I'm gonna reach out to him and hopefully we can get on his schedule. And so it's great. It's great.
We appreciate you. And we signing out. Thank you so much, man.
Thank you. I really appreciate it.
Thank you, Coach.
To all of you. Yes, sir.
Thanks, Dave. Appreciate it.
Yep.
Good time.
That's not the option, deserted. Only lions in my circle, we hungry for purpose. Not just giving all these stripes, you can see that I earned them. Can't fuck the system, take the knowledge and study and learn it. Be as strong as the weakest, 1 through 12 is equal. Tried to trap me, falling out, I had to thread the needle. I had to thread the needle, try erase and draw it up, just trying to see my youngins in. Yeah, I had to thread the needle, try erase and draw it up, just trying to see my youngins in.